Unstoppable Vibes, Dylan Wang and Esther Yu's iconic moments. If you have ever felt your heart race while watching two stars light up the screen with a kind of magic that feels almost unreal, then stay with this story and let yourself fall into a world where charm meets energy and every glance carries 1,000 emotions. This is your invitation to relive the unforgettable spark of Dylan Wang and Esther Yu, and by the end you might just find yourself seeing their moments in a way you never have before. So keep reading and let the magic take over. There is something rare about chemistry that cannot be forced, something that lives between silence and laughter, between chaos and calm, and when Dylan Wang and Esther Yu share the same space, it becomes impossible to ignore the way the atmosphere shifts. It is not just acting, it feels like a living, breathing rhythm that pulls you in deeper with every passing second. The first moment that truly captures this unstoppable vibe begins quietly, almost too quietly, the kind of scene where nothing dramatic seems to be happening, yet everything feels significant. Dylan stands with that effortless confidence, his presence calm, yet commanding, while Esther brings a burst of energy that dances in the air around her. She is playful, expressive, unpredictable, and somehow in that contrast lies the beginning of something electric. As their eyes meet, there is a pause, not an ordinary pause, but one that feels stretched in time, like the world itself is waiting to see what happens next. And in that instant you can feel the shift. A connection forms, not loud, not obvious, but powerful enough to leave a mark, and that is where the magic begins. As the story unfolds, their interactions become a journey of emotions. There are moments of teasing where Esther's lively personality challenges Dylan's composed nature, and he responds with subtle smiles and reactions that say more than words ever could. It is in these exchanges that their dynamic grows richer, more layered, more real. Imagine a scene where they are caught in a sudden, unexpected situation, the kind that forces them to rely on each other. The tension rises not from danger, but from closeness, from the realization that they are standing side by side, facing the unknown. And in that shared moment, something shifts again. Their connection deepens, their energy aligns, and what was once playful becomes meaningful. Dylan brings a grounded intensity to every scene. He does not need exaggerated expressions to command attention. His presence alone tells a story, while Esther brings a vibrant unpredictability that fills every frame with life. She moves with a kind of freedom that makes every moment feel spontaneous, and together they create a balance that feels both natural and extraordinary. One of the most unforgettable moments comes when silence takes over completely. No dialogue, no distractions, just the two of them standing in a world that feels suspended between reality and emotion. Esther looks at Dylan not with words, but with a depth of feeling that speaks volumes, and Dylan responds in kind, his gaze steady, his expression softening in a way that reveals layers beneath his calm exterior. And in that quiet exchange, the audience feels everything. There are also moments of laughter that break through the intensity, scenes where their playful sides shine through. Esther's bright energy becomes contagious, and Dylan's reactions become the perfect counterpoint, creating a rhythm that feels alive and genuine. It is in these lighter moments that their chemistry becomes even more undeniable, because it feels effortless, like two people who simply understand each other without needing explanation. As the story progresses, the stakes grow higher, emotions become more complex, and the connection between them faces challenges that test its strength. Misunderstandings arise, situations push them apart, and yet, even in those moments, the bond between them remains unbreakable. It is not about perfection, it is about resilience, about the way they find their way back to each other despite everything. Picture a scene where distance separates them, not just physically, but emotionally. The air feels heavy with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Esther stands alone, her usual brightness dimmed by uncertainty, while Dylan carries a quiet determination to bridge the gap. And when they finally come face to face again, the energy between them is almost overwhelming. It is not just a reunion, it is a release of everything that has been building beneath the surface. The beauty of their iconic moments lies in their ability to make every scene feel like a turning point. Whether it is a simple conversation or a deeply emotional encounter, there is always a sense that something important is happening, something that will leave a lasting impression. Their story is not just about romance or connection, it is about growth, about discovering strength in vulnerability and finding meaning in the spaces between words. Dylan's steady presence becomes a source of stability, while Esther's vibrant spirit brings light into even the darkest moments, and together they create a journey that feels both inspiring and unforgettable. There are scenes that feel almost dreamlike, where reality blends with imagination, where emotions are heightened, and every detail feels significant. The way the light falls, the way they move, the way they look at each other, all of it comes together to create moments that stay with you long after they end. And then there are those powerful turning points where everything changes in an instant, a realization, a confession, a decision that alters the course of their story forever. In these moments, their chemistry reaches its peak, becoming something that feels larger than the screen, something that resonates deeply with anyone watching. What makes Dylan Wang and Esther Yu truly unstoppable is not just their individual talents, but the way they bring out the best in each other. Dylan's calm intensity allows Esther's energy to shine even brighter, while Esther's liveliness adds depth and warmth to Dylan's presence, creating a dynamic that feels perfectly balanced. As their journey continues, the audience becomes more than just observers. They become part of the experience, feeling every emotion, sharing every moment, and becoming invested in every outcome. It is not just a story, it is an emotional connection that grows stronger with every scene. And when the final moments arrive, there is a sense of completion, but also a lingering feeling that their story is far from over, because the impact they leave behind does not fade. It stays with you, reminding you of the power of connection, the beauty of chemistry, and the magic that happens when two stars align in the most unexpected way. So, if you have felt even a spark of curiosity or excitement while reading this, then do not stop here. Dive deeper, explore their iconic moments, relive the scenes that made you smile, and the ones that made you feel something deeper. Let yourself be drawn into the unstoppable vibes of Dylan Wang and Esther Yu, and experience the magic for yourself, because some stories are not meant to be watched just once, they are meant to be felt again and again. And just when you think you have seen everything that Dylan Wang and Esther Yu have to offer, the story opens another door, one that leads even deeper into the layers of their connection, where every moment feels sharper, more intense, more unforgettable. There comes a point where their journey transforms from something beautiful into something undeniable, a force that refuses to be ignored. It begins with a single moment, a quiet realization that everything between them has changed, not suddenly, but gradually, like a tide that has been rising all along, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal its full strength. In one unforgettable scene, the setting feels almost surreal. The air is still, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. Esther walks into the frame, her presence softer than before, yet carrying a new kind of confidence, while Dylan stands waiting, not just with patience, but with a depth of emotion that feels impossible to hide. And when their paths cross again, it is not the same playful exchange. It is something deeper, something that carries the weight of everything they have been through. Their conversation starts simply, but every word feels intentional, every pause filled with meaning. Esther's voice carries a mix of vulnerability and strength, while Dylan responds with a calm sincerity that makes every line resonate. And as they speak, you can feel the shift again, that invisible thread pulling them closer, binding them in a way that feels both fragile and unbreakable. Then comes the moment that changes everything, not through grand gestures, but through a single look, a look that says everything they have been holding back, everything they have been afraid to admit. And in that instant, the world around them seems to fade, leaving only the connection that has been building from the very beginning. But what makes their story truly captivating is not just the moments of closeness, it is also the challenges, the moments where everything seems to fall apart, where misunderstandings create distance, and emotions become tangled in ways that feel impossible to untangle. And yet, even in those moments, their chemistry does not fade, it evolves, becoming more complex, more real, more powerful. Imagine a scene where Esther stands on the edge of a decision, one that could change everything. Her usual brightness is replaced by a quiet determination, while Dylan watches from a distance, his expression unreadable, yet filled with emotion. And as the tension builds, the question lingers, will they find their way back to each other, or will this be the moment that changes everything forever? As the story continues, the stakes rise higher, pushing them into situations that test not only their connection but also their individual strength. Dylan's calm exterior begins to crack, revealing glimpses of the emotions he has kept hidden, while Esther's vibrant energy takes on a new depth, showing a side of her that is both powerful and vulnerable. And together they navigate these challenges, creating moments that feel both raw and deeply moving. One of the most powerful sequences unfolds in a setting that feels almost cinematic in its beauty, the light shifting around them, as if reflecting their emotions, the world outside, moving on while they remain caught in a moment that feels suspended in time. And in that space, they confront everything, their fears, their doubts, their feelings. And what follows is not just a conversation, it is a turning point. Their words are simple, yet filled with meaning, each sentence carrying the weight of everything they have experienced. And as they speak, there is a sense of clarity that begins to emerge, a realization that despite everything they have faced, the connection between them has never truly broken, it has only grown stronger. And then comes the moment that feels almost like a release, a culmination of everything that has been building from the very beginning. Esther steps forward, her eyes filled with emotion, while Dylan meets her halfway, his presence steady, yet filled with a quiet intensity. And in that instant, the distance between them disappears, replaced by a connection that feels undeniable. But even as they find their way back to each other, the story does not end there, because what makes their journey so compelling is the way it continues to evolve, each moment building on the last, creating a narrative that feels both dynamic and deeply engaging. There are scenes that capture the beauty of simplicity, moments where they share laughter, where their playful dynamic returns, bringing lightness into the story and reminding us of the spark that first drew them together. And there are also moments of quiet reflection where they stand side by side, not needing words to understand each other, their presence alone enough to convey everything that matters. As their journey reaches new heights, the impact of their connection becomes impossible to ignore, not just within the story, but beyond it, reaching those who watch and leaving a lasting impression that goes beyond the screen. And perhaps that is the true power of Dylan Wang and Esther Yu, the way they create moments that feel real, moments that resonate, moments that stay with you long after the story has ended, because what they bring is not just entertainment, it is an experience, one that invites you to feel, to connect, to believe in the magic of chemistry and the beauty of a story that continues to unfold. So if you are still here, still following their journey, then you already know that this is something special, something worth holding on to and revisiting again and again, because the unstoppable vibes of Dylan Wang and Esther Yu are not just moments, they are memories in the making, and the story is still unfolding, waiting for you to dive even deeper and experience every unforgettable second.